a movie about a Spider-Man villain who was, in a way, created by Spider-Man, yet living in a world where there is no Spider-Man.
A-Town Movie Review. It's the A-Town Movie Review. It's the A-Town Movie Review. It's the A-Town Movie Review.
The movie Venom. Venom is about a man named Eddie Brock who's played by Tom Hardy. He sneaks into a secret laboratory and comes into contact with this thing called a symbiote, and they merge together to form this being called Venom. And both Eddie and the symbiote have to work together in order to stop an even worse threat from destroying all of humanity. Sounds pretty cool. So at first I was really concerned about this movie when I heard about it, because like, don't get me wrong, I love Venom, he's a really cool character, but like, to have a Venom movie without Spider-Man at all, like, it just seemed wrong. So I was really concerned about going into that, but comic book fan at heart, like, I gotta see this movie. And so I did. And you know, I was surprised. So critics like Rotten Tomatoes were really giving this movie a hard time. A couple things I did agree with, actually. For one, the beginning of the movie is just really slow. The time it takes for Eddie Brock to actually come into contact with the Venom symbiote, it it just takes a minute, and you got to really wait for it. They did use that time wisely to like build characters, really give you an understanding of who's who, what are their motivations, and I did appreciate that. At least it wasn't just worthless time spent on things that don't even matter. It was all building up things that would eventually come into play later in the movie. But it's just you just got to battle through that. And the second thing I had an issue with this movie is like all the side characters, like compared to the effort that Tom Hardy put into his character, like all the other characters were just like, meh, we're here. We're actors and actresses just doing our lines. And not saying that they were horrible, like they weren't bad actors. It's just like the energy level is pretty obvious. Like you see how Tom Hardy's like killing it, and then like everyone else is just like, oh, we're here too. And speaking of Tom Hardy, he did a great job. Like, I'm not disappointed at all in his performance. He put in a great amount of effort into like learning this character and just putting that energy into it. Like he was carrying the movie like by far. Like if there's any flaw in this movie, Tom Hardy like completely masked it up. He was like, I got this team. I'm putting it on my back. And then he did an amazing job like working with the Venom symbiote, like in the movie, because there's dialogue between the two, because he hears the symbiote talking in his head, and it's just the interaction between the two is just it's so funny, it's so hilarious, and then at times it's like heartwarming, because like you genuinely see the care that the symbiote has for Eddie and vice versa, and like that's really true to the comics. Like they do care about each other, and it's really reflected on the big screen. And I was just really impressed with Tom Hardy's performance. And yeah, great job. Much better than his performance as Bane. Not cutting Bane down by any means, but I liked Tom Hardy as Venom. A concern that people had with this movie before it came out was the change from an R rating to a PG-13 rating, and that's because Venom is he's a violent character, and if you're a comic book fan, you know that Venom like tears people up, he eats them, very gruesome, very bloody. And so when people heard that this movie's going to be PG-13, there was a lot of worry that like, oh, this movie is just going to lose a big part of who he is as a character and it's going to suck. I didn't think so. This movie still had aspects of violence in it, definitely, still PG-13. You're going to see people get thrown around, but, and he does bite people's heads off. You don't see it. You kind of see, like, the shadow, but, the lack of R rating doesn't really affect this movie, to me. I'm not a huge fan of blood and gore anyway, so to me, it was still fine. It was still cool. All the fight scenes were still cool, and I still liked it. I don't understand why critics are giving this movie such a hard time. Like, I mean, definitely it's not the best superhero movie, and yeah, there's some really corny lines here and there, but overall it does its job. Like, it has good story, it has good character development, and it's entertaining. I was glad I paid the money to see it. Like, as a comic book fan of Venom, I was happy with what I saw. Huge, huge improvement from Topher Grace's Spider-Man 3 Venom. Like, they're so much better. Like, I love Topher Grace to death. You know, he did the best with what he was given, but Tom Hardy is our Venom. And Venom is being awarded a Captain Marvel heroic rating.
That tongue nasty as heck, though.
So what do you guys think of my review? Are you tempted to go see Venom? Or have you already seen it and you agree with my review? Let me know down in the comments below. And please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this video with all your friends. And I'll see you all next week for another episode of A-Town Reviews. Now be prepared for my creepy smiling face.